Hi everyone, this is my handheld device integration rationale. I found all of the articles very relevant. I thought the GPS article was interesting because the students were having fun and they were engaged in the lesson. That's my ultimate goal in teaching. Kids learn more when they're having fun. I also like the article about the consequences of handheld devices. My son, like a lot of teenagers, uses his phone as a personal computer, and the screen size and limited battery power are obstacles for him all the time. It's also true that handhelds don't always function at the same level as a full-size computer. The Learning on the Go article was also good because it talked about the mobility of the devices and how kids could move around a lot and they weren't trapped in one spot, and how cost effective they are. It's cheaper to buy a small handheld than it is to buy a Chromebook. And ownership, I liked how the kids really took care of their devices and cared about the learning because it made them feel like they were more of an owner of the device. The purpose of integrating handheld devices into the curriculum is primarily about student engagement, in my opinion. Students are more interested when using a handheld device. The learning becomes more student-centered, and therefore relevancy increases for the student. The other important purpose is cost reduction. Handhelds are relatively inexpensive when compared to Chromebooks or laptops, which is an added benefit. For this tech tool, I wanted to show you how I would integrate handhelds into the curriculum, and I have. I used a site called Kahoot, and I log all the kids in. I'm going to show it to you here. Hi, this is the main Kahoot page. A Kahoot is a learning game created on the Kahoot platform, and the game is set up as either a survey, a quiz, or a discussion. It's then projected to the front of the classroom and played by the whole class together in real time. The students answer on their own personal device. The teacher would start by going to the main Kahoot page, which is seen here, and creating an account. You can sign up for free, use your email. After you've signed in, she creates the account. She would choose either a personal Kahoot, or she can create she can use one of the public ones that are here. I've chosen a public one to show you guys today. It's just got a few questions, so it's easy to go through. Once you hit play, the main screen comes up. You begin using the Kahoot. Each student needs to have their own personal device to answer with. I use the iPad cart and log each student in. Older students can, of course, log themselves in. Once you have chosen your Kahoot and logged in, you'll see all the students' names pop up on the screen. So I'm using my iPhone. I enter the game pin that you see on the screen into my phone, or the iPad, or whatever you're deciding to use. There I am, I pop up on the screen, and then you start. The teacher controls when the question comes up, so you have how much time to answer. On the device, you pick the shape that matches your answer, and you keep going through. The teacher decides when the next question should be displayed in order to give enough people enough wait time. You go through each one. And then the last question. At the end, it shows which ones are correct, which ones are incorrect. You can get feedback and results. the end, you can choose to save the results or download to your drive. And then you can then use the results to create new instruction. So back to where I was, the points of view. I considered the points of view from all of the articles. As a teacher of very young students, I really considered the health issues important. The fact that we don't know what the prolonged effects of increased exposure to handheld cellular devices. I also think it's important to make sure teachers are trained. It's difficult to keep up with what we're supposed to teach. Adding new ways to deliver and assess instruction is a whole other concept that's often overlooked. I agree that students are more engaged when using handhelds, but it concerns me that even my young students quickly come to rely on the device to answer or to think for them. I think a balance must be maintained between traditional methods and use of technology. My assumptions when beginning this assignment were that a laptop Chromebook would always be a better choice, and that my young students would be too distracted to use a handheld device for assessment. I was wrong on both accounts. When using handheld, students are more mobile. They do not have to stay at their seat, which is something that's almost impossible for a 5-year-old to do. When I used the iPads to do a formative assessment on letter recognition, every student was engaged in answering. They didn't click on anything else or try to play a game. It really surprised me. This technology integration is meant to address the problem of student engagement. It's also meant to give students more ownership over their instruction and assessment. Handhelds solve a lot of the same problems and issues that are solved by bring your own device. I think this integration will be successful. I know from using it in my classroom that students are more engaged and they show a stronger ownership of their learning. My only concern is that balance is maintained between instruction with and without devices. The theories that were applied to this integration were the constructivist theory and the multiple intelligences theory. Constructivist theory says that people come to their own understanding and knowledge of the world through experiencing things and reflecting on those experiences. When students use a handheld device, the experience becomes very personal for them. It's through that reflection that learning happens. Multiple intelligence theory tells us that all students learn different ways. The use of handhelds lets students express themselves in ways that are more relevant for them. Implications and consequences. Unfortunately, the convenience of handhelds also makes them very easy to steal. Teachers must have routines for distribution and collection of handhelds. It's also very tempting to only teach with devices because kids like it so much. However, it can be problematic in situations when the devices are not available. Consistency among teachers is also a concern. Some teachers are just more comfortable teaching with tech. If a student has a techie teacher one year and a more traditional teacher the following year, there may be some gaps in knowledge.